Hello and welcome to the next tutorial. This tutorial we will be going over area metrics using ForMable. So we'll continue on from the previous example, which is the plot example. So we'll go ahead and load up my ForMable. And funny enough, in the last example, I did find out that my square root transformation was bugged, which was leading to the very high TPA and BPA area estimates. So when you're testing, if you encounter that, please make sure you do not use the square root transformation. It may or may not be bugged, depending on what version you get. Just a forewarning. Only so much a developer of one can do. Okay, so let's jump right into the area estimates. So again, we'll go over our map. We have our plot, we have our north selection, we have our P3 polygon, and we have our national forest boundary here. So in our area selection, think of it as what we're doing is we're taking our plots from our filtering. Our plotting gives us our per unit area values, and our area basically finds the sampling intensity within that area and expands each plot to how many acres it represents within a selection. So we can choose multiple different polygons here in our area. So we can choose imported polygons or drawn map polygons. If we select drawn map polygons, we can select all, and here we'll see we have our north and our P3 from our map. What this is saying is this is our selection in our area of those polygons. Again, all the polygons are converted to an equal area projection first, so the areas are accurate. They're not biased by lat long. It'll tell us the number of plots in the selection, as well as how many acres or per unit, or how many acres or hectares, what the per unit area expansion is per plot. So the more plots you have within a unit area, the less each plot represents on a per area basis. So make sure that when you make your plot selections, it actually makes sense for your data. Since we have the national forest boundary, I'm going to select imported geometry, and by forest name, I can select all the polygons there, and I can see we have White Mountain National Forest. So based on our New Hampshire selection, we can see it has this many acres, and there's 389 plots within that, which gives each plot approximately 240 acres, or 2,400 acres that it represents, which makes sense because typically an FIA plot is around 6,000 acres, but the sampling intensity is increased in the national forests itself. So okay, within our polygon we have this many plots, and we can go ahead and make some area estimates. So we can go ahead and click on the Area Estimates tab, and similar to the plotting, it'll show us data, appearance, and export. So by default, we have to select a variable to expand by area. So first off, we can just do area key. It's going to tell us how many millions of acres our area is, so we know it's around, we took the data, approximately a little less than 1 million acres is this White Mountain National Forest. So we can do something, let's say, like, let's get owner group code. How many acres within the national forest does each owner group represent? So we can do something like, let's make this scale units. So here we go, this is thousands of acres now. You can see that most of the land is owned federally, which is unit code 10, or owner group code 10, some private, some state, and some other, I believe, other federal. We can color this by things like whatever we want. So we can do like, let's do county code. There we go. So within each of the counties that this falls in, how does this, how do these groups change? This is very similar to the plotting tab. Go to appearance, we can unstack these, and we can see, interesting. I'm surprised it's changing scale there. It shouldn't do that. Again, this is the latest addition to ForMable, so if there's any bugs, please let me know. That's what the testers are for. There we go. That's better, 1,000 acres. So now we can see how the acreage changes by ownership code and colored by county code. And again, we can change all of our appearance, we can change the axis titles, etc. We can see the data, so we can see how many plots fall within that, its expansion factor, and its estimate, and all that good stuff. Okay, so then we have this thing called custom classes. So let's open up custom classes here. Let's clear all these, let's clear this stuff for now. We want area variable to be, let's say, forest type code. There we go. So we look at all the forest types and all of their acres they represent in New Hampshire. So we can see Maple Beach Birch actually has over 500,000 acres, which makes sense. That's where the sugar maple syrup capital of the world, I think, is. So we got a lot of Maple Beach Birch. Let's go ahead and pull out just these 800 types to take a look at here. So this is really cool. So now we have all the Maple Beach Birch acres in New Hampshire. If we go to custom classes, what we can do is then we can assign a variable to these, which is kind of cool. So we can say within our classes, let's go back to our data. Let's color this by forest type code so we can see it. Or not root by legend variable. There we go. Forest type code. And I want all the 800s. There we go. So now what we can do is within our binning variable, we can do something like age. So we can say within different ages, how is our acreage changing? So by default, it's going to do just even classes. Let's say we want 3 age bins. We want ages between 0 and 33, 33 to 66, and 66 to max. So now I can see that something like, okay, within each of our forest type codes that are Maple Beach Birch, how many acres do we have with the different ages? So here we can see we have most of our sugar maple between 66 and 160 years of age, and it represents a majority of the acreages in New Hampshire. That's some of the stuff you can do here. You can again download your plot, change the labels, export your data. You can get estimates per area for your data. That is the basic wrapping up of the area and the 4Maple tutorial videos. Please test all of this stuff if you were a beta tester. I thank you very much for participating, and I will do my best to incorporate your feedback and improve this for the final release, which should be very soon after the second beta test. Alrighty, I thank you for listening, and there'll be one more tutorial kind of walking through a demo use case of 4Maple if you're interested, but this should cover most of the basics of 4Maple, and I will leave it at that.